Come on, y'all sing. For all. Come on, y'all know the song in the sanctuary. Come on, sing it with me. And honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus. Come on, y'all, let's do it. I just want to praise you. Come on, let's go to praise him. Come on, let's praise him. Moses, I will cause food to fall like rain from the sky for all of you. Every day the people must go out and gather what they need for that day. I want to see if the people will do what I teach them. If you would, play preacher with me very quickly. Turn to a neighbor, just one neighbor. Grab that neighbor by the hand. Grab that neighbor by the hand, look them in their eyes, eyeball to eyeball, eyeball to eyeball. And I want you to say to them, this season will not be fatal. That this season will not be fatal. Amen. You can be seated. You can be seated. That's enough right there for some people in the house. That's enough for some people in the house. You don't even have to hear the message. You just know that even in the midst of the season that you're in, you have enough faith and you trust and believe in God enough to know that even though you might be experiencing some hardships, this season will not be fatal. Sometimes, I'm a lover of driving. All right. I love to drive, and I love to drive long distances. I'm not too big of a fan of driving short distances. But you allow me to sit behind the wheel for about 12 hours and see where I take you. I love to drive. I love to drive. And you know, with the advancements in technology, sometimes when you're driving, you go through dead spots where you have no radio signals. But with the advancements in technology, we have a Bluetooth setting in the car. And with that Bluetooth setting, you can connect your phone with your car. And whatever you desire to hear through your phone, you can now play through the entire car system. So sometimes when traveling, and because I'm a preacher and I love to hear good preaching, sometimes some of the preachers that I love to listen to as we're traveling, I tell the wife, I'll say, turn on so-and-so. And she'll turn them on. And I'll get right into the message while driving. And before you know it, I'm about ready to shout with the entire congregation through the video while I'm driving the car where I am. But occasionally, let me tell you what happens, because sometimes as you're driving along the way, although the phone is synced with your car and whatever comes through your phone comes through your system, occasionally while you're traveling, you'll go through a dead spot where you have no signal that connects through your phone. Therefore, you have nothing that you hear throughout the audio system. It's in those moments that I get frustrated. It's in those moments that I get mad. It's in those moments, especially when I'm right there with the preacher and I see what the preacher is talking about and I'm walking with that preacher and all of a sudden the message just stops. All right. And my brothers and my sisters, sometimes in life, that's what happens to us. All right. We can be traveling along life's way. And before we know it, we hit a dead spot. A dead spot where it's dry. A dead spot where there's nothing to eat. A dead spot where there's nothing to drink. A dead spot where there's nothing nourishing for you. A dead spot where you are wondering, how in the world did I get here? My brothers and my sisters, that's called the desert place. All right. And look, my brothers and my sisters, sometimes we get the desert place misconstrued. Because most of the time when we think about the desert place, we think that the desert place has an intention to kill us. that the purpose of the desert place is to suck every good fiber out of us to where we become nothing. And I'll put it to you like this: if you're not careful and you start to internalize the desert and you become like the desert, then you can rest assured of the fact that you will die in the desert. But when you are standing on the premises of God, it does not matter if it's a desert place. It does not matter if it's Egypt. It does not matter if it's the promised land. If you are standing on the premises of God, then you can know that God will take care of you. He'll take care of you. The desert place. Can we make this a little visual for us today? The desert place. When you look at the desert place, every now and then you might see a cacti.
All right.
But for the most part, all that you see is dry land. And even if by chance it rains, it's not that much longer after it rains that it's dry again.
Yes, sir. All right.
But you know, the wonderful thing about the desert, is that at least the desert is in Egypt.
All right.
Somebody missed that right there. Let's see if we can connect this for those of you all that missed it. For the 5 of you all that caught it, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But let's see if we can connect this for those of you all that have missed it. The children of Israel, they have just experienced their soldier come through by the name of Moses. And Moses says to Pharaoh, y'all know the story, says to Pharaoh, let my people go. And before you know it, all of the Israelites are walking out with Moses. After having been in bondage.
All right.
Y'all catch that there? After having been told on an everyday basis what it is that you're going to do, how you're going to do it, Sister Hornsby, and when you're going to do it, now you're able to break free. You're able to break those shackles. You're able to break away from those things that had you bound and walk away from them. Look at that, and that right there applies to your life in general, because some of us, we have some things that have attached itself to us. And before we know it, that something has grabbed a hold of us and it has us so entangled that we don't know how to shake ourselves loose from it. But now, the Israelites, drum major for justice, he's showing up on the scene.
All right.
Says, I don't care about the hold that you have on them. As a matter of fact, I'm not even worried about what you may do, because the Lord has already told. Somebody ought to be standing on the Lord's word. The Lord has already told me what's about to happen. And if the Lord has told it to me, I'm crazy enough to believe it. And so they start on their journey out of Egypt, and they arrive at this sea. Theologians still bickering over whether it's the Red Sea or the Reed Sea. I'm not arguing that today. However, they arrive at this sea. And the Lord provides them a way to be able to cross over on dry land. at a sea that's wet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm reiterating that because we're going to get somewhere in just a moment where you need to remember what the Lord has already done.
All right.
A sea that's wet.
All right.
And you're able to cross over on dry land.
Yes, sir.
And look. They are headed from Egypt to the promised land. They're right there. They're headed from their place of bondage to a place that's flowing with milk and honey. But before you can get to the place that's flowing with milk and honey, you've got to go through.
All right.
You've got to go through the desert place. And I think that's a word from somebody right here today because of the fact you're trying to figure out why it is that the Lord has seemingly stopped you right here at this place, at this juncture, and you don't know when the Lord is going to allow you to walk in the promise that he has made to you. Baby, just wait, because the Lord will surely pull you out of the desert into the promised land. So they're in this place. And look, y'all, I want y'all to see this because we're in chapter 16 today, but just one chapter over. Just one chapter over. As soon as they cross on dry land, they start singing a song of praise. They're excited about what God has done for them. Doesn't that sound like some church folk today? When something good is going on, they get excited and they want to sing songs of praises. But as soon as it starts to get dark, as soon as the way gets dreary, as soon as you're in a desert place, as soon as where you are is dry, you give up your faith, you give up your shout, you give up your praise.
Yeah.
Chapter 15, they're praising. And 3 days after they start singing a song of praise, they start fussing. 3 days after having experienced the Lord carry you over on dry land, you start to fuss because you don't have anything to drink. We're just walking the story today, you all. Just walking the story to help you understand that even in the midst of this season of your life, it's not going to be fatal. You're going to live. You're not going to die. You're going to prosper. You're not going to regress. You're going to see the salvation of the Lord. They start fussing because we don't have nothing to drink. But you were just singing. Come on, y'all that's catching this with me. You was just singing the praises of the Lord and how he brought you out of Egypt and how he allowed all of the chariots to go under. And now you mean to tell me you're going to start fussing because you ain't got nothing to drink? The Lord has already shown you what he's able to do, and my Bible tells me that he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So if he did it on yesterday, I don't need to worry about today, and I sure enough don't need to worry. So boom. The Lord does the work. water appears in the desert place where there should be nothing good for nourishment. Water appears, they taste it, it's bitter.
All right.
Moses goes and grabs a tree,
My God, my God.
tosses the tree into the water,
All right. All right.
and then told them to drink.
Yes, sir.
Look here, let me say this to somebody in here, because sometimes when you see the hand of the Lord moving, sometimes you have to do things that are unconventional.
All right.
Sometimes you have to do things that other people will shun on you doing. Sometimes you have to break away from tradition and be able to adjust yourself to fit and provide for what's needed for the people.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So now they've had water to drink. And we get to this 16th chapter where it's now a month later.
All right. Yes, sir.
All right now. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Can I inject us into the text? Can I inject us into the text? Please don't get offended. Please don't get offended. But I just want to inject us into the text so that we can see how we do. Those same Negro folk that were just complaining about not having no water, they now come right back.
Say that. All right.
And they start a new complaint. Well, that sound like Black Baptist folk. I know not Greater Beulah, other churches around the country, other Black Baptist churches around the country, not Greater Beulah, but that sounds just like some Black Baptist churches. You see you can't get through on one hand, so then you try and circumvent and come back around with a new argument, with a new case that you are really going to try and shoot down something that's going to be good for the whole.
That's right.
It's ironic. Pastor, I'm going to make this as quickly as possible. I really didn't want to go down this road, but I'm going to have to go down this road. When you are working in ministry, and since today is the 29th appreciation for our pastor, I'll use him as an example. When you have been working in ministry as a pastor, leading folk, you already know who in the congregation are going to be your naysayers. While he has worked and toiled and struggled to bring you out of bondage through the desert place so that you can get to the promised land, all that some of us want to do is mumble and complain and present arguments of why it can't be done.
All right.
And so, Black Baptist folk, they come to Moses and to Aaron, and they say, you done brought us out here for us to starve to death. Listen to the intensity in their voices. You have brought us out here so that we can die. We could have stayed in Egypt and died. You brought us out here so that we don't have food, we don't have anything to drink, we don't have anything to nourish our bodies. We could have stayed in Egypt and had plenty of food to eat.
All right.
And sometimes if you're not careful, while you're in the midst of that desert place, you will start to bicker and murmur, just like the Israelites.
All right.
Lord, why have you done this?
Why?
That's one of my favorite cries. I'll be honest with you. I'll be transparent today. That's one of my favorite cries. Lord, why? Lord, why?
All right.
And look. They come to Moses and Aaron. And Moses goes and has a conversation with the Lord.
Yeah.
Let me add a footnote right there, because some of us need to understand when we murmur and complain, we need to make sure that we murmur and complain to someone who can take it to the right source. Some of us get so caught up in murmuring and complaining with other folk that will just see things like we see it ourselves, and there will be no change. But if you want to see change occur,
All right.
Well, yes, sir.
make sure that you take it to the right place. Moses has a conversation with the Lord. The Lord says, well, Moses, I don't know why they don't trust me yet. For surely, if I took care of them while they were in bondage, now you don't have chains on you. Are you trying to say that I'm limited in what I can do for you? Know that I'm not limited. Know that I'm able to provide. Know that I'm able to do more and exceedingly and abundantly above what you can ever ask or think. And that's a word for somebody in the house today, because you are at a place where you have been contemplating what you are going to do. If you're going to commit suicide, if you're going to revert back to some of those things that you used to do, if you are going to go back to the land of bondage, when you are trying to figure out how you are going to handle life, how you are going to deal with it. But the Lord is saying to you today, if I've already brought you this far, and y'all, I'm crazy enough to believe that the Lord is able to keep me.
That's right.
So the Lord says, all right, I see that these are Black Baptist folk.
Oh, Reverend.
I've got to show them again. I've got to show them again. Tell the folk in the morning, it'll just start raining food. Is it just me? Or does that sound crazy? Tell the folk that in the morning, it's going to rain. But it's not going to be water that's falling. Food. It's going to rain down from the sky. And when it falls, Steve, I only want you to get enough for your family for that day. Don't get greedy. Don't try and take an abundance of it and hide it in your tent. Because at the end of the day, all that is left over y'all, this thing is good. It's going to spoil. And if you have ever eaten anything that's spoiled, it tears your stomach all up. It gives you the BGs. It makes you feel sick to a point that you really want to die. But the Lord says, get enough of that day for your family. And don't just think that I'll do it today. But tomorrow morning, get up and expect the same thing. The following morning, get up and expect the same thing. The morning after that, get up and expect the same thing. And then can we make this thing truly live? Then when the Sabbath comes, you know you ain't supposed to do nothing on the Sabbath.
No.
So on the day before the Sabbath, make sure that you get enough for 2 days. I'm going to truly show you that I'm God now. Because here before, it's only lasted you for a day. But now, I'm showing you that I can make it last for 2 days. And somebody needs to hear that today while you're in the midst of this dry desert place, while you're in the midst of not knowing whether you're going to give up and throw in the towel. You don't know how you're going to handle the life. Just know that God will provide for you every day. Doesn't matter what your need is. Doesn't matter how outrageous your need might be. The Lord is able. So, let me work my way out of this thing. They have broken away from bondage on their way to the promised land. And a journey that should only take 40 days ends up being 40 years. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to go on and sit down, because I know some of you might try to throw some Bibles up there at me, try and hit me in my head or something, and I ain't having that today. It's Pastor's appreciation today, and I don't want to act bad on his appreciation. But a journey that should have only taken, TJ, 40 days is now taking them 40 years. Chet said almost all his lifetime. That is my lifetime. But look. Because we need to understand why it took 40 years versus 40 days. Firstly, we need to understand that sometimes sometimes the reason that our desert place has been prolonged is because we have not grown in the desert like we should have. That's number one. That's number one. If you're taking notes, please write that down. You have not grown in the desert place like you should have. Secondly, the reason that your desert place has been prolonged is because you have not allowed God the opportunity to cut away everything that you don't need when you get to the promised land. Some of the stuff that we're carrying, some of the baggage that we have that we're toting along the way, it is not fit to go in the promised land with us. And because we don't want to lose it and let it go, God said, I'm prolonging your desert time. But I'm going to tell you today, if you want to get to the promised land, you better go and start dropping that baggage. If you want to get to the promised land, you better start shedding that old skin off of your body so that you can walk in the newness of God. If you want to get to the desert, you've got to stop acting like you used to act. Change your ways so that the promised land can welcome you in.
All right.
So you can't go into the promised land. Your desert space, desert time has been prolonged because you have not grown like God has wanted you to grow. Right. Your desert place has been prolonged because you haven't shed off that baggage. And thirdly, this is the point that I think is going to be hurtful to some people, but some people are going to get a release from it. If it hurts you, just stump your own toe and say, ouch. But sometimes the reason that your desert place is prolonged is because some folk have to die.
All right.
Some people you can't take into the promised land with you. That's why it is that sometimes you might have a circle of friends, but as you grow and as you progress and as you start to walk in the ways of the Lord, you notice that you start losing some friends. They start dropping off the map. You start losing some associates. Those folk that used to call you every day, now you don't hear a word from them. It's because of the fact you can't carry them.
Yes.
You can't carry them. You can't carry them. I'm glad we don't have ties any longer, because I got tired of you riding my coattail. I'm glad that we don't talk no more, because I got tired of you weighing me down. I am glad that we don't have connection with each other no more, because you were holding me back from what God was trying to push me to. So as you're experiencing the desert place of your own life.
Yeah.
Not Greater Beulah's life, but just of your own life. As you're experiencing the desert place of your own life, know that it won't be fatal.
Yeah.
If you stay committed to God, there's the key right there. If you remain committed to God, you don't have to worry. You don't have to fret. Because the Lord will. The old hymnologist would say, God will.